Hi everyone, I'm Olivia Homewood. I'm a junior here at UB and I'm majoring in mathematics and minoring in education in hopes to be a math teacher one day. This week I read chapter 5 in the content area writing book, which was mainly about public writing, and I thought it was really important because many of us may want to write and publish our writing one day. This could be from authors writing a novel, maybe just an article that you want to research and publish one day. That you don't have to just be an English major or something to be interested in this. Many scientists or mathematicians look up and research many different areas and need to write an article about their research. So I thought it was really important for everyone and to see what the process was. And I actually talked to my cousin Megan about publishing and writing and stuff. She received her PhD from UB like about 5 years ago, and I was asking her about her dissertation and what she had to do to be able to do that, and how long it took, and how she was able to edit it and go back and forth with her advisors to be able to accomplish this. So she actually did her dissertation. It took her about a year to finish, but that was with the help of so many people to be able to do this. It wasn't just her sitting down writing a paper. It was like a full book, a full 200, 300 pages worth of her research. So she actually wrote her paper on inclusions in classrooms for a special education. She was really interested in how we should include all different kinds of special educations and special needs into each classroom no matter what, assuming that they're able to, because being able to include everyone is going to be helpful for not only the special needs student but also everyone else to be able to all come together and be able to learn just in general. And so I just talked to her about it, and she said she had to talk to school districts, and she had to talk to administrators, teachers, aides, actual parents to be able to come up with all this. So it's not just a paper just to write. It was a lot of research and a lot of time to be able to put into this. So, like I said, it took her about a year to finish everything. And I thought it was really interesting that she talked about how many times she had to go back and forth and talk with new people and go back and edit her paper, bring it to her advisors, have them read it over and over again, and be able to bring feedback to her, positive, negative, what they thought was best for this, which I thought was also really important because in high school, I remember, your teacher would read over it and give you a little ideas or here and there, which obviously is very helpful to most students who actually want to use the help. But in other cases, like myself, I didn't even read them sometimes, and I was like, I'm just trying to get this over with. It wasn't important feedback that I got all the time, so I was like, why bother? It's not a big deal. I'm not that into English anyway, so what's the point? But now looking at this from a college student standpoint, when I had to take my English courses, I realized that many times I didn't get feedback. I would have X amount of time to research a paper, talk about it in class for a little bit, and get a little feedback here and there about the topic, but then once I actually wrote it, you just handed it in and it was great. I didn't like that very much personally because I am not the best writer, and it's sometimes hard, especially if you're only peer editing. Sometimes it's not as easy, at least for me, when you're talking to another student. They're not always as helpful as maybe a more obviously professional is able to help you with this. So I thought that was also important. And so I also talked to my cousin about this as well, and she just talked to me about how she maybe a month ago just published an article. She started researching and looking up everything and writing and talking to many different people about all of this back in 2015. So it's kind of crazy to think that one article, it took about almost 4 years to accomplish finally and publish. she told me how the editing process could take like 4 to 6 months just for the first revision, just for them to look it over, and how it takes a long time to really do, and for them to thoroughly look through everything that you have and be able to give you your feedback and your information and be able to actually give you what you need to come out with the actual article in the end. So I feel that this is overall extremely important for high school students and college students, just because it takes a lot to edit, it takes a lot to revise what you have, it takes a lot to do this. So I think it would be really smart that we, as students and professors and hope maybe future teachers, be able to really understand this and be able to give our students the correct feedback, and so that they are able to succeed, because in real public writing, it takes a long time. I understand we don't have 4 years to help one student with one article, but I think that it is important to be able to give them their full revisions and feedback for everything that we're able to give them, so they can accomplish their writings and their topics that they came up with, and be able to write what they want, because it's so much easier and it's so much better when we're able to write how we feel and what's something that's really important to us. So overall, I just think that this week was extremely important to realize the actual public writing, everything that goes into that, because I think this should be extremely important back in like middle school, high schools, and college students to be able to succeed in their writings.
Hi guys, my name is Maggie Glenn, and I am currently getting my master's in TESOL here at UB. This week, my responsibility for our project was to discuss Chapter 6 of Content Area Writing. Because I graduated from high school quite some time ago, I thought I would start my part of the project off with an interview of two current high school students, one junior and one senior, just to see their different perspectives on the writing process, and whether or not they feel supported, just kind of to get their insight. So let's start with that.
In general, I'd say writing is one of my strong suits in school. If it's between a multiple choice test or an essay test, I'd rather take the essay test because I feel like I can get more information down opposed to like guessing or picking an answer that I may know some of the background information to, but not sure if that's the correct answer.
In school, my typical writing process would be to start with a rough draft, an individual or self-review of it, and then followed by a peer review writing. And then I would then proceed to write a second rough draft, including the corrections. And then once that would be finished, I would then again review it twice, once by myself and one with a peer, and then proceed to incorporate those new revisions into a final draft, unless a third draft is required.
I think my writing process has become more focused on like analyzing the text that we're reading or the specific topic we're supposed to be writing on, opposed to like when we first started, learning writing techniques. It was more about using like creative language or figurative language to make it more, lengthy and descriptive. And now it's mainly focus on the task you're given and use more research-based or what we can find in databases on the internet.
I feel really comfortable when it comes to how our teachers support us. They give us really good feedback. They help us wherever they can. And I never feel like scared or out of place to ask a question if I'm struggling with something, and they're always very supportive. So I never really feel like I'm writing for an outside audience, normally just for my teacher and for a grade.
I don't often feel that I'm writing for a real audience, more just for the teacher, for the grade that I need to get for the class. The only times I really feel like we're writing for a real audience is when it's a specific presentation grade, like parts of our senior project. We write an essay that goes just to the teacher, but then the other half of it is giving a presentation to the class, and I guess that's the only real audience that we would have for our projects.
The main focus of Chapter 6 this week was how important it is to create real audiences for our students to write for, to make their work authentic and give it meaning. I thought that was really interesting because as a student, I don't feel like I have ever really had the opportunity to provide writing, my writing to a real audience. It definitely is more so for a grade. Just like the two students that were interviewed, they said the same thing. And I thought maybe I had graduated from high school so long ago that it's different now. But they felt the same as I did, that they didn't really get that real experience that the authors are mentioning in the book. I included 2 separate journals in the Word doc for the video. Those both also discuss the importance of a real audience in our writing. Something that really stuck out to me in the first journal I included, Designing Writing Instruction That Matters, was linking format to purpose and audience allows teachers to ensure that students are not just asked to follow conventions and formats for the sake of school, but they're actually using language to do things in the world besides earning a grade. I think that really ties in exactly to what they meant in Chapter 6 of Content Area Writing. How can we provide students with something other than these writing to meet a standard? Some things the book suggests are writing to government officials, different types of group leaders, activists, even providing your writing for your peers. That is also an option. So I think as a teacher or a soon-to-be teacher, we have to ask ourselves, how can we do this for our students? And what different kinds of situations can we provide them to make them better writers? So what just flashed across the screen was a purpose audience format triangle. It's provided in the first journal as well, and I thought it would be important to include it. It's used as a scaffolding tool to create meaningful writing. It's a very useful tool for teachers, and I think it's important to include because, at least for me, I'm so stuck on how can we create these meaningful experiences for our students in their writing, and I think this is just a really quick, easy, great guide to use in the future. So overall, there was a lot in this week's chapters. In my specific chapter, there was a lot. I did focus on just one thing, but I think it was a really important thing because I think it's something that is difficult as teachers. And so now I guess I'm asking you all in the comments to discuss whether or not you feel as students or as teachers that you do provide or have been given these real audiences to write for, and which ways can we do this for our students. I really suggest reading those extra journals. They're really interesting and also can provide you with some great ideas.